hottest craze in the motorcycle market now is inexpensive motorcycles, and these three bikes here are ideally placed in that category. 250cc size motorcycles, except Kawasaki this year ups the ante to 300cc's. The Kawasaki Ninja 250 was the sport bike king of small displacement motorcycles. Then the Honda CBR250 came along and shook up the class and gave people a good alternative to the Ninja 250, which was carbureted and didn't really have good throttle response. So there was a good trade-off there. The Hyosung GT250R, air-cooled V-twin motor, feels a little bit older in design than these other ones, but it's the lowest price of the three. John, what's your early impressions?
Well, right off the bat, I can say that the Hyosung is more of a sport bike posture for the rider. It's got lower clip-on bars, it's got a higher seat height, puts the rider a little more forward on the controls. These two are a little more comfortable, a little more of a standard riding position for the rider.
Well, right off the bat, the Hyosung here only has a $100 price advantage over the base model Honda, and I see a very uphill battle for this motorcycle to have any clear performance advantage over these other two, considering, you know, what the Japanese bikes bring to the table.
Early impressions, the Ninja's definitely the fastest, but you gotta pay more for that advantage. So we're gonna ride these around all kinds of roads and find out if it's worth the extra price and how they all match up. All right, we've taken these bikes now on the freeway, in the urban environments, and now we've taken them out to some twisty roads to see what they're like as authentic sport bikes.
We definitely need to point out the fact that we have three different engine configurations here. We have a liquid-cooled single cylinder on the Honda, we have an air-cooled 75-degree V-twin in the Hyosung, and a parallel twin in the Ninja. Each of them are kind of distinct in their own mannerisms. The Kawasaki, the engine before with its carburetor and everything, I mean, we had issues with it. And man, I'm just telling you, Kevin, I'm having a problem faulting what Kawasaki did with that engine and its fuel injection.
You can do 80 miles an hour on these other two as well, but that's getting right near the top end of their limits.
Yeah, you're topped out.
Ninja's still got a lot more room to go. There's another magazine said you get 104 miles an hour top speed out of that thing, which is way beyond what these can do.
The Hyosung puts you in more of a sport bike position, but being a 250, you're almost ready for something that just isn't there. When you go to throttle out of a corner, give it the gas, and it just kind of grunts right on up the hill. Ninja has a little more power. The CBR, you know, it's got the same.
They're close.
Yeah, it's close, but it's a lighter bike. It's got a smaller wheelbase, and it doesn't have you in that ready position. You're more of in a standard.
So the Honda definitely has an advantage in some of this, you know, tighter, twisty canyon riding.
Absolutely.
I think if we had a less experienced rider here with us, they may go quickest on the Honda. It's just so rider friendly. Shortest wheelbase, definitely feels the most agile. And then when you're off the boil compared to these ones, it still got some good grunt, and so it doesn't feel like you're, oh no, gotta quickly bang a downshift. The Hyosung, almost, to me, it almost doesn't make sense. It feels big. And like you said, the long wheelbase, it doesn't feel like there's enough weight over the front end, even with the low clip-on bars. And I never could feel the confidence in the front end like I could on the two Japanese bikes.
No, I think even with the new KYB suspension that Hyosung has for this year, It's just not dialed in. The Ninja and the Honda were actually both pretty good, you know, front and rear, and their damping was set up for doing this tight, aggressive riding the best. Kawasaki, very close second in my book, but the Hyosung is definitely leaves something to be desired.
And while I think Kawasaki was on the right track, bumping it up to 300 cc's, because there really isn't a comparison. That those 50 cc's make a lot of difference between this one and either of these bikes.
You could buy this bike or the Hyosung, and after a certain period of time, you're probably going to want to step up into something bigger.
Definitely.
That Cowie, I mean, I've been riding for 20-some years, and I still could have that in the garage without any problem as my own bike. I mean, the engine on that is superior. It's amazing.
The Honda and the Kawasaki you can order with ABS. Our test bikes here both have ABS. Can't get the ABS on the Hyosung even if you wanted it. Alright, we've ridden these things on every kind of environment you can take a 250 or 300cc motorcycle on. I've been impressed that freeway traffic's no problem on these things, 80 miles an hour, keep up with traffic, no problem on Southern California freeways or highways in Nebraska if that's where you go. And the things that stand out to me is that these things are so easy and fun to ride, and that's why you should consider this size of motorcycle if you're a newer rider or somebody who just wants to have fun on a smaller, easier to manage sport bike.
They're a lot of fun to ride, like you said. They're easy to move around, easy to negotiate through traffic. But I think we're all clear on the fact that of the three, the Hyosung definitely has the most shortcomings. It just doesn't add up in every facet, whether we're talking about handling or power or braking, suspension. And for me, what it boils down to is the Hyosung ought to be significantly less expensive than the other two, and it's just not. It's only $100 or so less.
Yeah, the Ninja, I think to all of us, it stands out. It has a larger performance envelope where that once you get, your feet wet and you learn how to handle a motorcycle, let's say you're a newer rider, that thing will keep you entertained for years. We've been riding for decades, and we had nothing but grins when we were riding this thing, especially around these canyon roads.
Well, it's got some of the modern technology. Both you can get the Honda and the Cowie with ABS. But again, it's the slipper clutch that keeps, kind of making me grin, because you're coming in these corners not expecting a technology on a motorcycle of this caliber or at this price. I mean, you take the ABS out of the equation, this is only, it's under $5,000, but you've got a slipper clutch in there. If you're a beginner rider and you get the skills and you're out here in the canyons or on the track, all of a sudden, you can smack off some downshifts, dump the clutch, and you're not going to be jacking up the rear end. It's phenomenal.
So I think what we got here is a new class champion. It's busted out of the class. No longer a 250, but the Ninja 300 just has more of everything. It costs a little bit more, but you get a lot more too with the Kawasaki Ninja 300.